It's no news that wealthy people live on loans. I know this sounds very contradictory given that they are high net worth individuals, yet they do it all the time. How? They don't just have money, they leverage it. This is one of the strategies billionaires use to grow and protect their fortunes, living on loans. But why would someone with billions of dollars borrow money? And more importantly, how can you apply the same strategy to your own finances? This is the breakdown of the concept of debt, wealth, and financial power plays that billionaires use to live richer, smarter, and tax-free. Imagine you have a magical jar of candy. This jar is special because the more candy you keep in it, the faster it grows. Now, you really want to eat some candy, but you know that if you take candy out of the jar, it won't grow as quickly. So instead, you come up with a clever plan. You ask your friend if you can borrow some of their candy, promising to give it back later with a little extra. This way, you get to eat candy now, while your magical jar keeps growing bigger and bigger. This is pretty much what billionaires do with their money, but instead of candy, they're dealing with stocks, real estate, and other valuable things. And instead of borrowing from friends, they're borrowing from banks. It's a strategy that helps them enjoy their wealth now, while still letting their investments grow. Let's break this down a bit more. Most billionaires don't have billions of dollars sitting in a bank account. Instead, their wealth is tied up in things like company stocks, buildings, or even artwork. These are called assets, and they're like the candy in our magical jar. They have the potential to grow in value over time. Now, when a billionaire wants to buy something expensive, like a super yacht or a private island, they have two main options. They could sell some of their assets to get cash, but this comes with a big downside: taxes. When you sell an asset that has grown in value, you have to pay something called capital gains tax. For billionaires, this can mean giving up a huge chunk of money to the government. So instead, they go for option 2, borrowing money. They go to a bank and say, "Hey, I've got all these valuable assets. Can I borrow some money against them?" The bank looks at the billionaire's assets and thinks, "Wow, this person is super rich. They're very likely to pay us back." So the bank agrees to lend the money at very low interest rates. This borrowing strategy has a catchy name in the world of finance: buy, borrow, die. It might sound a bit morbid, but it's actually a clever way to keep and grow wealth over generations. Here's how it works. 1. Buy. Billionaires acquire valuable assets that are likely to grow in value over time, like stocks in successful companies or prime real estate. 2. Borrow. Instead of selling these assets when they need cash, they borrow money against them. This allows them to have spending money without reducing their ownership of growing assets. 3. Die. When the billionaire passes away, their heirs inherit the assets. Here's the clever part. The value of these assets is stepped up to their current market value at the time of inheritance. This means that all the growth that happened during the billionaire's lifetime isn't taxed. Let's use some numbers to see why this strategy is so appealing. Imagine a billionaire has $1 billion worth of stocks in their company. They need $100 million for a new project. If they sell $100 million worth of stocks, they might have to pay up to $23.8 million in taxes, assuming a 20% long-term capital gains tax plus a 3.8% net investment income tax. That leaves them with only $76.2 million to use. But what if they borrow instead? They go to a bank and get a $100 million loan at a 3% interest rate. Now they're only paying $3 million per year in interest. Plus, they might even be able to deduct some of that interest on their taxes, making the real cost even lower. Meanwhile, their $1 billion in stocks keeps growing. If the stock value increases by 10% that year, their wealth has grown by $100 million, more than covering the cost of a loan. It's like they're getting paid to borrow money. This strategy isn't just about having spending money. It also allows billionaires to keep control of their companies. If they sold off chunks of their company's stock every time they needed cash, they might eventually lose their majority ownership. By borrowing instead, they keep their voting rights and control intact. Now, you might be wondering, don't they ever have to pay back these loans? Well, yes and no. Often, billionaires will take out new loans to pay off old ones. It's like a game of financial hot potato, but the potato never gets too hot because the billionaire's assets keep growing in value. As long as their wealth is increasing faster than their borrowing, they can keep this game going indefinitely. This strategy also has some big tax advantages. In the United States, loans are not considered income, so they're not taxed. This means billionaires can access large sums of money without triggering a tax bill. It's a bit like having a secret tunnel that bypasses the toll booth on a highway. But wait, there's more. When a billionaire eventually passes away, something interesting happens with their assets. There's a rule in the U.S. tax code called the step-up in basis. This means that when someone inherits an asset, the value of that asset is stepped up to its current market value for tax purposes. Let's say a billionaire bought stock for $1 million, and by the time they die, it's worth $1 billion. If they had sold that stock while alive, they would have owed taxes on $999 million of gains. But when their heirs inherit the stock, its new cost basis is $1 billion. If the heirs sold it immediately, they would owe no taxes. It's like hitting a reset button on capital gains. This combination of borrowing and the step-up in basis allows billionaires to enjoy the benefits of their wealth during their lifetime and then pass that wealth on to the next generation with minimal tax impact. It's a powerful tool for building and maintaining generational wealth. Now, you might be thinking, this sounds too good to be true. What's the catch? Well, there are some risks and challenges to this strategy. 1. Market volatility. If the value of a billionaire's assets drops significantly, the bank might get nervous. They could ask for more collateral or even demand repayment of a loan. This could force the billionaire to sell assets at a bad time, potentially triggering the tax bill they were trying to avoid. 2. Interest rates. This strategy works best when interest rates are low. If rates rise significantly, the cost of borrowing could outweigh the benefits. 3. Regulatory changes. Laws and regulations can change. If the government decides to crack down on this strategy, billionaires might have to find new ways to manage their wealth. 4. Public perception. As more people learn about this strategy, there could be public backlash. This might lead to political pressure for changes in tax laws. Despite these challenges, the benefits of this approach are so significant that many billionaires consider it worth the risks. It's not just about avoiding taxes. It's about maintaining control of their companies, having financial flexibility, and preserving wealth for future generations. This strategy has implications that go beyond just the billionaires themselves. It affects the entire economy in several ways. 1. Wealth concentration. By allowing the ultra-wealthy to grow their wealth more efficiently, this strategy can contribute to increasing wealth inequality. 2. Tax base. If a significant portion of the wealthiest individuals are avoiding capital gains tax through this method, it could mean less money for government programs and services. 3. Market dynamics. Large-scale borrowing against stocks can influence stock prices and market behavior. 4. Banking sector. Banks love making these loans because they're low risk and high value. This could potentially affect how banks allocate their resources and who they choose to lend to. It's important to note that while this strategy is legal, it's not without controversy. Many people argue that it's unfair for billionaires to have access to financial tools that allow them to enjoy their wealth without paying taxes, while ordinary people have to pay taxes on their income. This has led to ongoing debates about tax reform and wealth inequality. Some proposed solutions include 1. Wealth tax. This would tax individuals based on their total net worth, not just their income. 2. Mark-to-market taxation. This would tax unrealized capital gains on a yearly basis, rather than only when assets are sold. 3. Closing loopholes. This could involve changing how loans are treated for tax purposes or limiting the use of certain borrowing strategies. 4. Inheritance tax reform. This might involve changing or eliminating the step-up in basis rule. Each of these proposals has its own set of pros and cons, and there's no easy solution that everyone agrees on. It's a complex issue that involves balancing economic growth, fairness, and the practical challenges of implementing and enforcing new tax rules. While most of us won't be taking out $100 million loans anytime soon, there are still lessons we can learn from this billionaire strategy. 1. The power of leverage. Using other people's money, like loans, can be a powerful tool for building wealth when used responsibly. 2. The importance of assets. Owning assets that appreciate over time can be more valuable than just having a high income. 3. Tax awareness. Understanding how taxes work and planning accordingly can have a big impact on your financial situation. 4. Long-term thinking. Billionaires often think in terms of decades or even generations. Adopting a long-term perspective can help in making better financial decisions. 5. Financial education. The more you understand about finance, the better equipped you'll be to make smart decisions with your money. It's also worth considering the psychological aspects of this strategy. For billionaires, it's not just about having money. It's about control, legacy, and often a desire to change the world. By keeping their wealth tied up in their companies, they maintain decision-making power and can continue to shape their businesses and influence society. Many billionaires also use their wealth for philanthropy. By borrowing against their assets instead of selling them, they can donate to causes they care about without reducing their ownership stakes in their companies. This allows them to have a significant impact on social issues while still maintaining their business influence. The buy, borrow, die strategy isn't new, but it has become more prevalent and sophisticated in recent years. Several factors have contributed to this. 1. Low interest rates. The past decade of historically low interest rates has made borrowing particularly attractive. 2. Complex financial products. Banks and financial institutions have created more sophisticated lending products tailored to ultra-high net worth individuals. 3. Globalization. The ability to move money across borders has opened up new opportunities for financial optimization. 4. Technology. Advances in financial technology have made it easier to manage complex borrowing strategies. 5. Wealth concentration. As more wealth has become concentrated among a smaller number of individuals, there's been increased focus on strategies to preserve and grow that wealth. It's important to remember that while this strategy can be incredibly effective for preserving and growing wealth, it's not without its critics. Some argue that it exacerbates wealth inequality and allows the ultra-rich to avoid paying their fair share in taxes. Others contend that it's simply a smart financial strategy that anyone would use if they had the opportunity. The debate around this issue touches on fundamental questions about fairness, the role of taxation, and the balance between encouraging wealth creation and ensuring everyone contributes to society. There are no easy answers, and different countries have taken different approaches to addressing these challenges. For example, some European countries have wealth taxes that apply to an individual's net worth, not just their income. This makes strategies like buy, borrow, die less attractive. Other countries have stricter rules about using company stock as collateral for personal loans. The United States has considered various reforms, but so far, the basic strategy remains viable for those wealthy enough to use it. Without a doubt, several trends could impact how billionaires manage their wealth. 1. Increased scrutiny. As wealth inequality becomes a more prominent political issue, there may be more pressure to close loopholes and increase taxes on the ultra-wealthy. 2. Technological disruption. New financial technologies, including cryptocurrencies and decentralized finance, could create new opportunities and challenges for wealth management. 3. Global cooperation. There are ongoing efforts to create more standardized global tax rules, which could affect how wealth is managed across borders. 4. Environmental concerns. As climate change becomes a more pressing issue, there may be more focus on how billionaire wealth is invested and its environmental impact. 5. Social responsibility. There's growing expectation for the ultra-wealthy to use their resources for social good, which could influence how they manage and deploy their wealth. Despite these potential changes, the fundamental principle behind the buy, borrow, die strategy, using leverage to access wealth without triggering taxes, is likely to remain attractive to those with significant assets. For the rest of us, while we may not be able to implement this strategy on a billionaire scale, we can still learn from its principles. Here are some takeaways. 1. Invest for the long term. Focus on acquiring assets that have the potential to appreciate over time. 2. Understand the power of compound growth. The magic of compounding works best when you let your investments grow undisturbed for long periods. 3. Be tax aware. Understand how different financial moves impact your tax situation. Sometimes, the most tax-efficient action is to do nothing and let your investments grow. 4. Use leverage wisely. While most of us can't borrow against our assets like billionaires do, understanding when and how to use loans can be a valuable financial skill. 5. Think generationally. Consider how your financial decisions today might impact your family's wealth in the long run. 6. Keep learning. The world of finance is always evolving. Stay curious and keep educating yourself about money matters. 7. Balance growth with security. While the billionaire strategy focuses heavily on growth, for most people, it's important to balance growth potential with financial security. 8. Consider the ethical implications. As you make financial decisions, think about their broader impact on society and whether they align with your values. The strategy of billionaires living on loans is a fascinating window into the world of high finance. It showcases how the ultra-wealthy use sophisticated financial techniques to preserve and grow their wealth while minimizing their tax burden. While this approach isn't accessible to most people, understanding it can provide valuable insights into how money works at the highest levels. This strategy also raises important questions about our tax systems, wealth inequality, and what it means to contribute fairly to society. As we move forward, these are questions that we'll need to grapple with as individuals and as a society. Whether you're managing billions or just trying to make the most of your paycheck, the key to financial success is continuous learning and smart decision-making. Keep asking questions, stay curious about how money works, and always be on the lookout for ways to make your money work harder for you.